This is Chai. Chai is my pet snake, specifically my pet Dumeril's boa. I've had Chai for a few months now, and her current setup just isn't working for her. So during this video, we're going to take her setup from drab to fab by replicating her natural environment. First things first, let's have a look at her old enclosure and see what changes need to be made. She has a fully custom-built background that I made using expanding foam, cocoa fiber, and some cork bark to create some natural ledges. She loves basking on these, and they create a nice shaded area for her to hide underneath. Now for the bottom of the enclosure. This cage has something called a drainage layer that allows water to pass through the soil so that the plants don't get root rot. On top of the drainage layer, she has some mesh to separate the soil and sand. Soil and sand is a great substrate for a lot of reptiles, as it's easy to digest and allows for natural behaviors like burrowing. And according to EK magazine, who found Dumerils in the wild, 2 of 3 individuals were found by local farmers in burrows beneath the ground. The surface was typically composed of highly compacted soil. Around the perimeter of the fields, softer soil allowed for some shallow burrows, and tall grass provided shelter from the harsh sun. Let's hang on to this information for later use. And let's focus on the main problem with this enclosure. The main problem with this enclosure is that all of the plants have done terribly. Since it was initially set up for a more humid species and Chai likes it quite dry, they just aren't getting enough water. So what plants will actually work for Chai? Well, let's learn even more about Chai and her natural environment, and then we'll take it from there. Dumeril's boas are found in southwestern and southern regions of Madagascar. They inhabit a variety of semi-arid forest and savanna environments, including areas disturbed by humans. They are ground-dwelling snakes known for being ambush predators, primarily feeding on rodents, lemurs, and tenrecs. Dumeril's boas are generally very docile, most likely due to the lack of large predators in their region. They are also quite brave. They don't mind sitting out in the open since their patterning helps them camouflage with their environment. Humidity-wise, we should aim to keep Chai at about 40 to 60%, as anything higher could harbour bacteria and cause respiratory problems. For basking temperature, we're going to aim for 32 degrees, but making sure that there is a cool side too so that she can thermoregulate. And since we're replicating all aspects of Chai's natural environment, let's talk about her lighting. Heat comes from the sun, not the ground. So we're going to give her overhead heating so she can bask appropriately. But not all heat bulbs work the same. Ceramic heat emitters and deep heat projectors aren't going to produce enough infrared A so that Chai can properly digest and get all the nutrients that she needs from her meals. That's why I'm going to install a halogen bulb for daytime basking use. Since Madagascar is quite close to the equator, it stays hot all year round, even at nighttime. So I am going to use a ceramic heat emitter, but this is to create an ambient temperature during the evening. The sun will also emit UVB, which we're going to provide with a 7% T5 high output unit to allow her to absorb calcium and D3 from her diet. IRA and UVB don't aid in plant growth though, so I'm going to add an LED bar for a bit of visible light. Now that the lighting is sorted, let's pick out some plants. Unfortunately, my local B&Q doesn't sell any baobab trees, or many Madagascan plants for that matter. So the next best thing is picking plants that like quite a dry environment. The first plant is a yucca plant. They come from Mexico, the United States, and South America. But they mimic the appearance of a tiny baobab tree, and they'll provide some cover for Chai. The next plant is a dragon tree, which comes from Africa, Asia, and northern Australia. Since they are found in dry parts of Africa, they will be able to handle lack of watering quite well. I think this looks a little bit like the tall grass that they were talking about in the EK magazine. I was going to pop in some actual dry grass, but knowing Chai, she would squish it in a heartbeat. So grass lookalikes it is. And the last 2 plants are both snake plants. These are found in Africa, Asia, and Madagascar. No wonder this is the only plant that did well in this enclosure. Now let's pop these plants into the enclosure and have a think about what hardscape Chai would like. Chai spends the majority of her life on the ground, but I still like to give my snakes climbing opportunities where possible. So I headed down to my local reptile store to pick up some branches and some other essentials too. Chai isn't going to be the only animal living in this enclosure, so stick around to the end to see what else I bought to simulate an ecosystem. This large branch works perfectly for this enclosure. Not only can she climb on it, but it also provides somewhere for her to hide away. Speaking of hiding away, Chai will need some places that she feels safe. So I'm going to add these hides into the enclosure. One will be a cool hide, the next one will be full of moss so that when she sheds her skin, she has somewhere nice and humid to sit in, and the other will have a piece of slate underneath. EK Magazine found a Dumeril's boa using tarmac to warm itself up. Providing a piece of slate in the enclosure will replicate this tarmac road. Without the cars, of course. Now we're getting to the final steps of this enclosure. Let's take a look at this wild boa. You can see it sat on a lot of decaying leaves. This is a crucial part of simulating an ecosystem as it provides a food source for a few friends that will live with Chai. These friends are isopods and springtails. They are the key to keeping this setup self-sustaining, as they will eat any waste or leftover protein. I'm going to use some giant orange isopods as they have been thriving in some of my drier setups. Plus, they breed like crazy. To keep these isopods happy though, they will need a more humid space to live. Under the water bowl seems to be a popular choice for all of my isopods, so let's put in a large bowl that Chai can also use for soaking. Anytime I refresh the water bowls, I'll pour some water around this area so that the isopods and springtails can thrive. And last but not least, we have to see what Chai thinks of this enclosure and watch her explore her new naturalistic habitat. I think she is absolutely loving it, and she seems to be enjoying all of the extra enrichment. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't stumbled across my channel before, then hi, I'm Ellie from Ellie's Exotics, and I've been keeping reptiles for over 7 years. I'm always here to help with your reptile husbandry questions, so if you have any, then please do ask away. I have so many more enclosures that need a revamp, so comment down below what setup you would like to see next, and I will see you all later. Bye bye.